Today I want to shed some light on a secret that all of the OGs seem to swear by, and that's conceptualizing your muscle damage and repair. The key to breaking through plateaus and progress isn't actually just hard work. It's working smart and healing fast.
I use this analogy at seminars I do. It's very simplistic, but it gets the point across. If you get a bit of sandpaper and you rub it across the palm of your hand and it's kind of bloody, if you leave it and let it heal up, what's going to happen? The skin's going to develop back a little bit stronger, a little bit thicker than before because it wants to protect against that stress. So that's the process. But if you go and you make your hand bloody, and before it's healed up again, you go and rub it again, what's happening? You're not really getting anywhere. You're just going to have a bloody hand.
I think that the reason that this advice is hard to take is everyone assumes that more work equals more results. After all, everyone says that you must completely exhaust the muscle to cause growth, right?
For hypertrophy, I learned from Andy that the repetition range can be pretty broad.
So high volume.
High volume, but you have to go to failure or beyond in order to stimulate growth.
Because every set, bar the warm-up sets, you got to warm up, to be safe and everything. But the real sets, I call them, we're going to go to absolute failure and even beyond with forced reps, with assistance reps, maybe extra negative reps, which is something that most people neglect when they lift weights. They think, I've lifted it. All right, boom, let it go down. I've lifted it. But they're neglecting the lowering part of the weight, the negative. So I get people to really slow that down, so you're taxing that part as well. And even at the end of the set, on some exercises with machines where it's practical, so you can't curl anymore physically on the positive, on the contraction, but your strength on the lowering is greater. So if you did curls and you failed, I could lift the weight to the top for you, and you could lower it down for probably another 3 reps. So if you'd just gone to failure here, you wouldn't have exhausted the negative part of the rep. So my thing is exhaust everything. You can't lower it, you can't lift it. It's total failure. If you do that once on an exercise, then time to move on.
While this is true, there's also another side to the coin that is equally important, and that's recovery.
Like, what is it that causes muscle growth? What is it? And I tried it out in the gym, and it worked in the gym. And if I trained more often, or if I did more in the gym, my progress would slow down or it would stop. As soon as I cut back and I made the workout shorter and more intense, my progress went. So for me, it was pretty early on I learned how to train properly. And that's why I was competing. I competed in a world championship after 18 months training, which is pretty much unheard of. You see, the process for muscle growth is you go in the gym and you put stress on the muscle. If you put stress that it's not used to, then it's going to react, you're going to get growth. But you need to recover from that first. You don't go to the gym and grow and then recover later. That's not the way it works. You go, if you give your body some stress it's not used to, you'll get a reaction. But before you get the reaction, you have to recover.
So if we need to have a super intense workout, and we should also be recovering from them very quickly, how do we facilitate these two things, which are seemingly opposites?
So when you catch a good pump and everything's feeling amazing, mind muscle, you just kind of don't want to stop. But the reality is you're there to do a job, and the job is stimulate muscle growth. And if that job is checkmarked and over after 10 sets or 8 sets or whatever it is, just go home, right? The purpose of the gym is not so that you feel smashed. The purpose of the gym is that you adequately stimulate muscle growth, get a robust pump, get some soreness, and get out. And come back and repeat.
The key is to not exhaust your neurological system with your workouts. Just because you can do more doesn't mean you should do more. As Dr. Mike says, just do your job, stimulate the muscle, and get out. This goes double for the people lifting for strength. It turns out that strength adaptation is primarily neurological, and you need lots of exposure for this adaptation, so don't burn yourself out in the process.
What's interesting about this is 3 to 5 times a week is a lot for a muscle group. Squatting 5 times a week for 5 reps, meaning you're working pretty heavy, meaning you're close to failure but not failure for strength generally. What Andy taught me is that people who are training mostly for strength can do these low rep type regimens frequently because most of the adaptation is neural, and because you're not pushing to failure in most cases, you don't get that sore. And so it's the motor neurons getting the muscle fibers to contract more intensely or with more efficiency in other ways that's leading to these strength gains. And this is why powerlifters can train every day or 5 days a week or 4 days a week.
So whether you're building muscle or building strength, you need your muscles to contract as efficiently as possible to create the maximum effect. Don't waste too much time and energy on unnecessary things along the way. Every molecule of ATP spent on doing something that isn't muscle contraction will be more overall tiredness and less overall muscle growth.
But that feeling causes a ton of psychological fatigue, and we know that fatigue is all interrelated. So you generate a ton of fatigue just by trying hard psychologically. It can spill over to the rest of your training.
It's all up there. That's the key.
We know this is true because if you generate a lot of psychological fatigue, not even training, it can spill over into the rest of your training and recovery. If you have a 2-hour-long fight with your girlfriend, not physical fight, emotional fight, boy, do those hurt worse, then you may find yourself completely drained and unable to really have good workouts, and you need a couple days of deload. That's how much poison psychological fatigue can introduce into the system. And the other thing is, like, you may get so emotionally fatigued from workouts that you have a couple weeks where you progress and then a couple weeks where you regress, realize you're going too hard, deload, flip the switch again and go. It's much better to be a little bit more calculated. Dope out a good workout, then add a little bit to it, then add a little bit to it, then add a little bit to it. Eventually you get to that Icarus height of your wings start burning off. That's great, but it's not the whole thing.
The goal is to be compounding hundreds of workouts over the years. And an important caveat, without injury or overworking.
Real ingredients of effective training are consistency, multiple weekly workouts, multiple weeks strung together of good workouts, not psychotic workouts, good. The beginning of the meso, they start pretty easy, but effective. Through the middle of the meso, they get pretty intense. To the end, they get psychotic and insane, and it's time to start thinking bad thoughts about grandma again. And that all is good ingredients, but it's the consistency that unifies it. Showing up for, over the course of 4 weeks, 8 good leg workouts will grow infinitely more muscle, maybe not infinitely, mild exaggeration, than like going hard once a week on legs and overdoing it in the session. And that's only 4 workouts. Another thing, another real ingredient of effective training is progression. It's the ability to do 10 reps with 100 pounds one week, 11 reps with 100 pounds next week, 11 reps with 105 pounds the week after, and 12 reps with 105 the week after that. Then deload, then start somewhere in the middle and progress. And it's that progression, which inevitably gets you to the heights to which you're capable of getting. Progression, in that sense, means that sometimes you will need to put it all on the line, but that sometimes generally happens for like the last week before your mesocycle ends, because it's the last cherry on top of a great stimulus, and because it is unsustainable. You cannot train like that for multiple weeks in a row. And if you can, you're just doing not enough volume each time. You could be doing more volume, less psychotic failure training, and growing even more. Most times, training is about showing up, using good technique, going hard, but usually not all out, hitting small load and rep PRs, coming back later that week and repeating, going up, another week, repeating, going up, going ultra hard, burning out, deload, and repeat. That's the ingredients. So this myth is more like going hard all the time is a myth, but going hard some of the time is a really good idea.
For all the best drug information, I use our software, Polypharm Solutions, where you can conduct drug interaction scans and predict drug side effects. Use the link in the description to sign up for the mobile app waitlist, or use our web app for free. If you like this video, I recommend this video where you're going to find more muscle building and pharmacology breakdowns. And as always, subscribe for more videos.